Hello, YouTube Pipers. Double O Pipe here. I have in my hand Clark's favorite, Savinelli, Clark's favorite. I don't know who Clark is unless it's Clark Gable. Since the other was a Bing's favorite, and that one, I was reminded, is at a friend's house when I went there during the hurricane. I forgot and left my pipe supplies there. So that's why I couldn't find my Bing's favorite. Looked all over this house for, I know, over an hour, and finally just gave up and said I must have dropped it in the trash or something, because it's just gone. But no, it's at my friend's house, and it takes about 30 to 40 minutes to get there, and I just don't like leaving Hunter that much. Be 40 minutes there. You don't just go to the door and say, give me my stuff and leave. You normally want to visit for a few minutes. So that would be another half hour to 45 minutes, and then another 40 minutes to come back. It's just too long to leave Hunter by himself. So it'll sit there for a while until the next hurricane, probably. And hurricane season, I believe, is over. Cup of tea. In the bowl is Carter Hall. I don't have a filter in this, because it's just too tiny. I guess I could press one of those balsa woods in here, but too late. I cooked a turkey this morning. Well, actually, it was a turkey that was, excuse me, that said on there that had been cooked, but it had to be put in the oven for 2 hours. I don't know if it's already been cooked, why it has to go in the oven for 2 hours. But anyway, I put it in the oven. I cooked that this morning and made a sandwich out of it. I meant to get cranberry sauce and have with it, but anyway. So next week is Thanksgiving. And you always think of those big meals you have with your family way back when. But I was thinking more about, I don't remember if it was Christmas or Thanksgiving, but I think it was. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's one of those big family get-togethers anyway. But the first thing I wanted to mention is the first time I was exposed to alcohol, I was 11. I was with my parents at my uncle's house, excuse me, and they were drinking Tom Collins and gin. I think it was gin. And every time Dad would have one mixed up, he'd let me have a sip. So I had a sip. I had quite a few sips because when he turned around, I would take another one. Since he had given it to me, I figured it was okay. I got quite high, to the point when we were going home, I walked out on the front porch, and that fresh air hit my face, and I ran over to the side of the porch and just threw up in the fire pit. I was sicker than a dog because I had been sneaking sips of Dad's drink. My mother gave him hell. It was all his fault. He should never have given me that. But anyway, that was just kind of an introduction. But it was either Thanksgiving or Christmas. I'm not sure, but we had the same. No, it had to have been Thanksgiving, because. No, okay. We had the same feast, Thanksgiving and Christmas, after my great-grandmother passed away. Because before, when she was still alive, we used to go down to Georgia and spend Christmas there. On the farm, where there were no facilities except behind the house, a two-holer in the back. And I hated having to go in before bedtime because it was dark out there, and at Christmas time it was cold. You go out to the outhouse and put your fanny on that wood, cold wood. But anyway, I digress. Thanksgiving, we had a spread. I think I've talked about Thanksgiving before. And there was always, there were like two long tables put together on the back porch, and food just covered it from one end to the other. And we had another table over in the corner that had all the desserts. So, I mean, there was food galore. My granddad from England, when he was over there, he said, this isn't Thanksgiving, this is Glutton's Day. He called it Glutton's Day, because there was so much food on the table. He had never seen so much food in all his life in one table, in one sitting. While he was over here, he had to have his pants let out twice because he gained so much weight. But we would all gather. Grandmama and my mother and aunts would all be in the kitchen getting everything together, and we'd be out watching. If there was a ball game on, we'd be watching that, or I'd be reading something or something. And this particular one was, I think I was 16. Maybe I was younger than that. I don't know. Gosh. Because I was thinking, well, yeah, I was 16. Clyde was 20. And we didn't get together much once he got out of the house and was on his own and married. This was after his divorce, I'm sure. But always, my granddaddy stood up and said, everybody quieten down now, and he'd bless the food and thank the Lord for all that we had. And he'd always end up by saying, and bless the little cook. The way he said it, that sparkle in his eye was something to remember. Anyway, we went there and had a little bit of everything. I mean, it was just so much food, you wouldn't believe it. And of course, we'd eat all that, and then we'd go back, get seconds, go around, eat all that, and then we'd go to the dessert table. And there were a couple of pies. There was a pecan pie, pumpkin pie, there was fruit cake, another kind of cake, and Grandmama's favorite, the whipped cream cake, which must have been about 2 foot high and 1.5 feet in width. and it was 7 layers of cake. In between the cake, whipped cream. That was her favorite cake, and she looked forward to Thanksgiving and Christmas because that's when she got it. And we'd have to go to the Piggly Wiggly, the only one in town that sold this. It was in the middle of town. And pick it up prior to the dinner. But as usual, everybody was loosening up their pants so they could get their bread basket all settled. His granddad called it his bread basket. And Clyde came in and he said, "Hey, Neff." I looked up and said, "Hey, what's up?" He said, "Want to go for a ride?" I said, "Yeah, I'd love to. I guess I better go ask my parents." And he said, "All right, I'll wait." So I went and told my mother. Clyde said he wanted me to go for a ride with him, and she looked at me like, "I don't want you to do this." I said, "Is it okay if I go?" And she said, she had this look on her face. She said, "Yeah, I guess so. Just behave yourself and don't do anything crazy." And I said, "Okay, I won't. I'm just going for a ride with Clyde." And this was pretty much the beginning of all the rides, the ride with Clyde. We used to, I'd hop in the passenger seat and he'd hop in the driver's seat and crank it up. And those, I guess they were glass packs, I don't know, but they would rumble. And it wasn't a raw rumble like the engine just spitting out its exhaust into the air through a straight pipe. This had mufflers, but these mufflers were special to make that rumble and raw sounds into a not more pleasing, because it was still loud, but it didn't have that rawness to it. It had a deep-throated rumble. And he'd crank it up and he'd rev it a couple of times. Back out. And I said, "Where are we going?" He said, "Well, Neff, I thought you might enjoy going and visit my friends with me. We go get our Thanksgiving drinks." I said, "Thanksgiving drinks? What you talking about?" "Wait till we get there, you'll see." I said, "Are you sure I can do this?" He said, "How old are you now?" I said, "I'm 16. He said, "Hell yeah. I was younger than that when I started." I said, "Started what?" He said, "You'll see." So he took off, backed out of the drive, drove down the short street to the turn, made the turn, made another left, the end of that. And I was trying to think where we went. I can't remember. I think we took a right. And we went up to, there's a sort of a cutoff road up before the light on Maybank. And we took that and we went down into a section of Riverland Terrace. And he pulled up in front of this house. The house kind of had shrubbery all around it. Couldn't see it was pretty high shrubbery, like it wasn't taken care of. I said, "Whose is this?" And he told me the name. I don't remember because I never went back there with him again. And he said, "You'll enjoy this." I said, "Okay." And we went inside and Clyde said, "How you doing? How you doing?" And the fellow said, "How you doing, Clyde?" And Clyde said, "Fine." He said, I hope you don't mind. I brought my nephew with me." He said, "More the merrier." So we sat down at the table, and he had a big jar of grapefruit juice and a couple of mason jars with a clear liquid in it. And Clyde said, you're gonna have to be careful with my nephew here. He's not up to snuff with drinking. And the guy said, okay, we'll fix him up. Get us a couple of glasses, Clyde. Clyde picked up a couple of glasses. And he said, I want you to see something. What's your name? He just calls you Neff. I said, it's Rick. He said, I want to show you something, Rick. And he was a little, I would say he'd had a couple. But anyway, he had a saucer there, and he took the mason jar and he poured some of that clear liquid into it. And he said, watch this. This is the sign of good moon. And he struck a match and he put it to that liquid, and it flew up into flame. He said, see how that's burning with a blue flame? That's good stuff. And he put that out, and he took the mason jar, and put the top on it real tight, and he shook it up as hard as he could, and he said, see that bead on that? That's the second sign of good moon. Well, I was getting kind of curious about this good moon. And he said, well, let me fix you up. I won't make it too strong. I said, all right, go ahead. I trust you. And Clyde looked at him. And he looked at Clyde. And they both thought, oh, boy. So he poured a little bit of the clear liquid into a glass. And then he filled it up with grapefruit juice. And the grapefruit juice masked the taste of the moonshine almost completely, because I didn't taste anything but grapefruit juice. And this stuff was 190 proof. I mean, it was A+ moon. So I drank that down. I said, well, that wasn't bad. Clyde looked at his friend, and his friend looked at Clyde, and they said, well, maybe you should have another. I said, okay. I don't see where it's affecting me in any way. Clyde got that smile on his face and that little twinkle in his eye that I've talked about before. And he put a little bit more of the clear liquid into the glass and filled it up with grapefruit juice. Now, when I drank this one, there was a touch of a different taste that I couldn't describe. It's like smoking a pipe. I can't tell you what the taste is, but I can taste it. Same with this. And we all clicked our glasses and said, Happy Thanksgiving, or a Happy Christmas, whatever it was. Some of the details escaped me for obvious reasons. And they both just kind of drank theirs down, and I followed suit. I just drank the whole glass down, and I said, that's pretty good. And the guy smiled, and he said, want another one? I said, yeah, I think I do. I think I want nothing. And Clyde smiled. He said, be careful, Neff. I don't want to take you home to your mama and you be soused and I'll get in trouble. I said, don't you worry about Clyde. Don't you worry about Tall. So he got the mason jar and poured a little bit more of that clear liquid into that glass that was mine, and poured the grapefruit juice right up to the top. And I said, man, I don't know if I can get this to my mouth without spilling some. He said, you need to stir it. So I stuck my finger in it and I did this. Got slopped it all over the table. Picked it up and sipped on it, and Remember that twinge I was talking about that made it a little bit different the second time? Didn't taste any twinge. It was just grapefruit juice because I think my taste buds were numbed by the second one. And they both sat there just chatting, and I just kept a sipping. And Clyde said, "Neff?" I said, "Huh?" He said, "You got to drink that up. We got more houses to go to wish people Merry Christmas." I said, "Do we get a drink at each one?" He said, "That's why we're going." I said, "Okay." He said, "Let's drink them down and let's go." Well, I wish I could tell you more about that trip to the next person's house, but I don't remember anything. I remember as we walked out, the place was kind of dreamy, and I was just walking along, noticing how the world looked through different eyes from what I had when we walked in. And I hopped in the car on my side, and Clyde hopped in the car on his side and cranked it up and rumbled his engine noise. I said, "Clyde, you think it's okay for me to be going to this other friend's house?" He said, "He'll say the same thing, Neff. The more the merrier." I said, "Okay, let's go." And that memory just fades into alcohol unawareness. But that was my introduction to drinking with Clyde. We rode in that car, or whatever car he had, I don't know how many miles, all over, down to Miami and back, and all over South Carolina. And I could hold it a little better during the latter days. And we were always drinking on the road. Never got stopped, except for that time we were going down to Miami during the hurricane. I don't remember if Clyde got into trouble or not, taking me home drunk. I don't even remember what my parents said when I got home. Like I say, those memories just dissolved into an alcohol haze that just is a gray area that I don't have any memory of whatsoever. I do remember stopping at the first friend's house and watching that moon burn blue and those beads sliding up the side of that jar. And then saying, "Why, this doesn't taste bad at all. It just tastes like grapefruit juice to me." That was the end of it. But that was the beginning of the teen years when Clyde and I used to ride around in his car and drink. Man, oh man. God looks after fools and drunks is all I can say, because he sure looked after us. Well, I see I've tipped into almost 25 minutes here, so I thank you for listening. I hope your Thanksgiving is better and your Christmas is better. But it was my first time my first introduction to a Christmas drink, a Thanksgiving drink, whatever it was. Take care of yourselves, everybody. Thank you for stopping by and sharing a pipe. Thank you for listening to my silliness. And I wish you all a good weekend. Happy days. God bless you until the next time. Bye-bye.